Hi, friends. Thanks for joining us. Smash that subscribe button. It helps grow the channel. It really helps get the word out. Benny, where can they find us on social media?
Yeah, you can find us at Ray Benny Sports. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Of course, we're on Reddit as well. And don't forget, leave us a rating on your favorite podcast provider.
Let's get right into it. Bombers, Elks, surprising finish, 38-29. Let's get into it. The good, the bad, and the ugly. You want to start with the good?
Yeah, it wasn't a surprising finish. I guess it was a surprising beginning, right? How it went. But the good for me right off the bat, Drew Brown. Coming into this game after Claros was knocked out of it. Came in and kind of steadied the ship and led the Bombers back from down 22-0. 307 yards, 4 touchdowns. Great display for a guy who has barely played at all this season.
Mm-hmm. Since we were talking good stuff about Drew Brown right after the game, you were one of those folks to kindly remind us, what do we do? How do we keep him on the team? So if you were GM of the Bombers, what would you do knowing what you know now?
Yeah, I don't know. I would try to find a way to sign him and keep him, but it doesn't look like it. Claros, apparently his last year of the deal is fully guaranteed or something like that. So he's got 2 more years. So he's here, right? Drew Brown, he can go start anywhere next year, right?
Mm-hmm.
After this display. And if he plays again this week and puts up the same kind of numbers or close to it, someone's giving him a good paycheck. So I think it's going to be tough for the Bombers to keep him, as much as I'd love to keep him around.
Yeah, that loyalty is different. You might
Yeah.
have guys like Rashid Bailey who takes some little money off to stay with the team, but if you have an opportunity to start at QB, that opportunity sometimes is once in a lifetime. So you
Yeah.
might as well take it. Lawler in that one-handed catch, that was crazy. That right now is probably the benchmark catch for play of the year or
Yeah.
catch of the year in the CFL. Good luck breaking that, of course. And Brady Oliveira going 14 for 110, 8-yard average. O-line doing what we were talking about a couple of weeks ago of giving him that the yards before contact, because that's really allowing him to get the momentum hitting the hole, and he is a load once he gets that momentum going. He's a train. He's hard to bring down. And it's starting to remind folks about Andrew Harris and even like Milson Jones, just those big Winnipeg running backs who just run hard and downhill. So it's fun watching him play.
Yeah, and it was great watching. They were mixing it in a lot early between him and Dembski, right? It was confusing even the commentators on TV who was running the ball half the time. It was like, oh,
Yeah.
there's Oliveira. No, it was Dembski. So they kind of pounded at that Edmonton D line, and maybe it helped them later in the game to get even more yardage. To me, the defense, although they weren't the greatest in this game, I got to point out 2 guys in this game that probably helped turn this game around a bit. And first one is Jackson Jeff Coat, causing Kevin Brown to fumble and recovering. And this was right after Edmonton threw that bomb, 53 yards. We're at the Bomber 22. If they score here, they're going up 19, right? Or what I believe it was. So recovered the fumble, got the fumble, recovered it. Bombers scored on the next play. And then later for me, Evan Holm with the timely interception, his first of his career, early in the 4th quarter. Again, stopped an Edmonton drive. So stand out for those 2 guys.
Evan Holm's crazy good.
Yeah.
He's second in the league in pass knockdowns with 8,
who's number 1?
trailing Willie Jefferson by only 1. Going back to what you mentioned about the runners, 4 different ball carriers. I love that play calling. And also 8 different receivers. Despite Brown going over 300 yards, no receiver went over 100 yards, I think.
No, Bailey was 80 something, I think.
So that's good. Great ball distribution. As a defense, who do you focus on?
And it's great to see because Bailey, I don't think ended up having a catch last week in that route of BC.
Yeah.
And now I know Lawler had a bunch more targets, and maybe Bailey had an easier assignment and stuff. But yeah, it's good to see that another guy can step up and shows these guys that, hey, each week it's not going to be just Lawler. Everyone's going to need to step in at some point.
And it was a quiet night stat wise for the defense. Like if you look at the defense, it's nothing spectacular, nothing kind of, jumps out at you, but they just kind of shut it down in the second half. Other than, those couple runs by not Brown, the quarterback.
Straightforward.
Thank you. A couple runs by him. It's kind of, they shut it down.
They did.
So the defense had a good, and I guess shout out to the Edmonton defense and AC Leonard. That guy is a sack machine. He just wreaks havoc on the line. And he kind of silently got 2 sacks, but AC Leonard's up there in defensive alignment in the CFL.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into the bad of the Bombers, and that's what that first quarter was pretty bad for them offensively and defensively. So, and AC Leonard was in that mix, causing problems for Claros even before he got hurt. like they just rattled him. Like he was off his game. The offense, the play calling altogether wasn't great. And the Bombers weren't generating anything. And then to
Yeah.
watch Kevin Brown take that
I don't
first run 65 yards is wow. What team is this?
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know. I thought the play calling was all right. I thought the execution was kind of flawed, and also I thought Edmonton was really playing good coverage at the beginning of the game. They weren't giving Caleros much. He had to hold on to the ball, and Edmonton does not have a bad defensive line. So in that combination early in the game, it caused trouble, and it
Oh,
caused
big time,
trouble
yeah.
for Caleros on a couple plays. One where he had to take a sack, and you're like, oh no, I hope he's not hurt, and one where he tried to make a little too much happen,
Yeah, and he should have taken another sack
and then
really
he
there
did
too.
get hurt.
Yeah.
So but the Bomber D line, it's that running game that they're showing they're vulnerable against. You know, you just mentioned that 60-plus-yard touchdown by Brown, 170 yards combined rushing. The quarterback again having issues. If Trey Ford had a little more experience reading defenses and getting the ball out, would have been trouble.
Yeah.
You know, it's only a 9-point win. It's still lots of trouble if he
Oh yeah.
knew how to complete a couple, not new, if he had a little more experience. So they got to fix something on the D line. It's not talent. It's got to be scheme wise. So you got to kind of look at Richie Hall for that. Why can't they stop the run? Why up the middle so much?
Well, yeah, Kevin Brown went basically untouched right up the middle, and huge hole from the D line, and then the linebacker is just out of place enough that he could just get like gone. Like even Big Hill, a few on those couple plays. That one, he was spying Ford later on the touchdown, I believe, by Ford, and he just bad angles or bad play altogether by him. I don't know. So missing the guy, and then even Dietrich Nichols had Ford for probably a sack or a tackle for a lot, or
Yeah,
basically nothing, and he ended up running for the first down, kind of thing, 17 yards. So those kind of plays, they just couldn't contain him enough and make the plays that they needed to.
anything else in the bad for you?
I guess he also going back to that D is the Kyron Moore, that 70-yard TD. I like the play calling way, but Houston has to make that tackle or at least slow the guy down.
Absolutely.
When you're the last guy and there's no one else behind you, you have to make sure you make that tackle. So
Yeah. And
yeah,
salute to Evans for making that play.
oh yeah, for sure.
Now let's move on to the ugly. I think you kind of know where I'm going to start with this. The hit on Caleros was pretty ugly. I don't know. Borderline, ugly, legal, illegal. What are your thoughts on that? I think people saying or trying to defend this hit as, oh, it's kind of like a bang bang split second. They have enough. They don't have enough time to make a reaction. Give me a break. Look at what has happened in the past 10 years. Players have modified their game not to hit at the head, not to hit the QB late. So don't tell me that all of a sudden it's a bang bang and he can't make it. He could have made that judgment and he didn't. He had no regard for the other player's health, I think. I don't think he meant to injure him, but I don't think he was thinking of the other player's health. And he dove right at the guy's head. So I don't know. I think it's ugly and I thought it was unnecessary.
I agree, and to me, the ugly was the officiating on that. To not only you didn't call it, you went to review and you still said no, it's not. Um, I could understand maybe if he landed on his back butt area, but he clearly targeted the head, and he delivered a blow right to the head neck area. To me, that's roughing the passer all day. Doesn't matter, even if you didn't, even if it wasn't late, kind of thing. You still can't hit the head or target the head first, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, it was a piss poor call by the officials on the field and then by the command center.
How can you miss that twice?
No, and then what game was it against BC or
Calgary?
yeah,
Calgary.
they called it, right? Same
Unbelievable.
kind of play.
No consistency.
It's like what's going on here? But yeah, now you left one of the best players in the league hurt. He was out for that game. Who knows how much longer? But your MOP candidate is now going to miss games for a league that is short on QBs. You want as many good QBs to be playing, and you want that guy in the game, not to be taking hits like that.
Absolutely. You got to protect the quarterbacks and you got to set precedence to these guys.
And
Like
I
if
would
that's
be
a legal hit now, come on, who wouldn't take that on a starting quarterback at this point?
yeah, I'd be saying the same thing even if it was the other way around and a Bomber player did that to Trey Ford.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that it's a Bomber player getting hurt here or anything. It's a bad play altogether and should not be happening in this league. Or if it is, needs to get penalized.
Goodness. Let's talk about the ugly and let's kind of attach it into some breaking news when we have been recording this that Victor Cui has, I guess they've come to an agreement or he's left the club, whatever it is. And the crowds at Commonwealth, they're at 19,921. And this is a team that's very used to seeing 35, 40,000 in the seats pre-pandemic and a couple of years before that even. Thoughts? You
Well,
think, like, I don't know.
I mean, for one thing, you got to end this home losing streak, right? I mean, you're at 22 games now. You're up this game 22-0. That's your chance to break this streak altogether, and then it just all falls apart for you in the last three quarters. The weather wasn't great on this game, so I guess that must have kept some fans away. But until they can start winning, it's going to be tough to get fans back in there. The diehards will continue to go, right? Just like here in Winnipeg, the diehards kept going even when the Bombers were bad. But it's getting the casual fans and the other fans to show up. They're not going to show up to watch a team lose like that, especially on a Friday night or Saturday night or something like that.
Yeah, and even when the Bombers were bad, some people were like, yo, what if just David Asper owned the team? Let's get rid of this board structure. And a lot of people are feeling that in Edmonton because the board has been responsible for these horrible hirings. The board is the reason why they're screwed under this operations cap, which in and of itself is a stupid thing that the league got to get rid of. It's ridiculous now. And I don't know. I kind of agree with those fans. Maybe it is time to get rid of the old school board structure. Time to bring in an owner who's ready to take this the Elks name and move forward with it and change the attitude and culture of this team because it's getting really bad now. I don't know if the board can bring this back or if the fans can trust that board anymore.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you're firing Chris Jones after this season, it's like you're starting back all over again, right? Like Jones basically blew this up, and how many different players has he had in the last two seasons? So if you keep him and hope he can turns around in year three and he doesn't, then you're going to get even less fans. But at the same time, you're starting all over brand new again. So it's tough situation. Might have to just ride this out.
Sucks. A pillar franchise of the CFL, hurting bad. It sucks for Victor Cui or Cui or sorry the pronunciation. I was really optimistic about him.
Yeah, he seemed like he was doing some good things, right? I mean, they had some good crowds at the beginning of the season. Even last season, they had some good crowds. It's just unfortunate if they could have got some wins. Obviously in the last 22 games, he probably got more coming out. But
or at all, they're 0-9.
Yeah, I don't understand though what firing the team president does to fix anything at this point, though. So
at this point, nothing.
I mean, you still got all the same coaches. You can't do anything with Jones. The only change you made was Jarius Jackson, and at times it did look good, but at times they got way too conservative to try to put the game away. And then what's his name? Trey Ford came out and kind of questioned it all, and Chris Jones pipes back telling him to stay in his lane or whatever. So
what a loser.
It's not going good for that franchise at all.
Nah, he's old school. Old school. It's not working.
No.
Didn't Wally Buono sign off on that or recommend that they hire Chris Jones for those roles?
I think so. And unless he didn't, now I'm trying to remember the story. Unless he didn't, and they still went ahead and did it anyways.
Oh,
I can't remember.
Wally just got inducted in the BC Lions Hall of Fame thingy. So shout out to him.
Right on.
Greatest coach ever.
Yep.
In the league. Let's go to team grades. You start.
All right. Let's start with the Elks. Okay, we've just talked about them quite a bit. I am going to give them a C- for this game. Trey Ford looked good, made some mistakes, but obviously playing time will get that better. But when you're blowing a 22-point lead, it's tough. I mean, you got to do it. The D played great in that first half, or first quarter even, but slowly fizzled later on. So C-. It's probably the highest grade I've given them.
Oh, no doubt, eh? They put some points up. I'll go and the quality of opponent. I'll go with their opponent, Winnipeg. I'll give them an A-/B+. When I went to university, I had this professor who gave us slash grade, so I'm going to pull that one out for this game for sure. Because all in the end, he'd bump it up to whatever it was if you needed it. They just didn't look quite sharp, and coming out of the gate, showed their veteran savvy, presence, cool, whatever you want to call it, and beat a team that they were supposed to beat anyhow. So. It was an okay performance. Who do you got next?
Yeah, it's funny because we were talking about how raw we were about the Bombers on the last episode, and then that little bit of doubt crept in a bit and see if they can handle it. And that was a terrible start, but brutal. Good teams pull it out at the end. Montreal next for me. I'm going to give them an A. No Cody Fajardo, no William Stanback, missing also Armando Sewell, and they just thrashed the Riders. What was it, 42-11? That D again, taking care of business. Mason Fine wasn't very good when he played. Dolga, what the heck's his name?
Doligal?
Dolga, yeah. Didn't do much either. So Riders are reeling, but Montreal, A.
Since you said Riders are real, and I'll go with them a D. Did they give D minuses? Is there D minuses, or they just feel bad for students? It's just you get an F already.
Yeah, it's pretty much an
It's
F.
horrible. They are a rudderless ship, and I've been using that term on this team since that Marino accident or incident or whatever. No, I don't believe in them. They're done pretty much.
There's so many teams that are bad, really, right? You got the three, you got BC, Winnipeg, and Toronto. And then after that, it's a mishmash of teams, right? Can Montreal be good? They've beaten they seem to be better than all the bad teams because they've beaten those teams, but lost to Winnipeg, Toronto, and BC. So
yeah, they're the good of the bad teams.
Yeah,
They're the
exactly.
best quarterback of them.
Yeah, that's true. And he didn't even play actually. So
yeah. Oh my goodness. Who did Saskatchewan? I don't know. We'll talk about who Saskatchewan has in a bit. Who you got next?
BC, another A. Vernon Adams, 322, 4 touchdowns, returning from injury. And D went back to their ways of no TDs allowed. They really shut down that Calgary offense, who looked good in beating Toronto last week.
Yeah,
I guess not really the offense. The offense was okay, but on the run game, it was good against Toronto. But that Calgary team just couldn't get it going.
No, and Calgary again. You mentioned them. I'll give them a D. I wish I could give them a D. The Dickinson brothers had a horrible weekend. D for Dickinson. Just predictable. Again, they are a rudderless ship as well. And you think someone with playing experience and experience in winning like Dickinson would not have a rudderless ship? But they lost too much leadership, I think, in that locker room, and there's no identity on that team, and they are lost. So yeah, D / whatever that is under that.
Do you think both brothers have a possibility of getting fired this year? We know one is probably for sure.
Dickinson staying.
Yeah.
The one in Calgary.
Yes.
The Saskatchewan going has to go.
Yes.
Has to go.
Yeah, I guess it should be too quick to fire Dave Dickinson after one bad season.
Get rid of that ops cap for the love of goodness.
Yeah,
or
maybe that's the thing.
Make it a
right?
yearly thing. Make it a yearly one, and the previous coaches' salaries don't hang so heavy on the next year because it's ridiculous. You're dooming it. Both pillar franchises in the league, Calgary, Saskatchewan, and Edmonton are in horrible situations because of the ops cap right now.
Yeah.
And thank goodness Saskatchewan has hardcore fans who support the team.
Well, then plus you got, Edmonton, Saskatchewan, so at least Saskatchewan has coach and GM. Edmonton and Calgary, both guys are doing the GM job and the coach job. So we've seen teams are worse or suffer more when they're doing both jobs. And that goes back to the ops as well, right? Not high enough to pay 2 different guys to do this stuff.
Isn't Edmonton still paying Elizondo?
Yep.
And the other GM that was there before?
Yeah, and that's their problem with this cap.
So garbage. Who do you got next?
Toronto. I'm going to give them a B+. Chad Kelly, ankle injury, I guess wasn't that bad. Passed for over 400 yards and also 4 TDs from him as well. So, and then Tavarius Daniels, what a game for him, 180 yards. That's crazy. Good to see him back in there. No touchdowns. Oh, sorry, 3.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
3.
I was like, none of those. No, it's 3. Yeah.
That's big fantasy day for him. Oh my goodness. Ottawa. Oh, Bobby Dice, man. Like that team is just not consistent. One time the offense can do good, one time the defense can do good. Now the offense did okay, and the defense just couldn't get anything going.
No.
Toronto's a good team. Don't get me wrong. Chad Kelly went nutty also in the yard. Did he get 400 yards again?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious. So, Ottawa, I'm sorry, but you're going to get a C-.
Good day for Crum, though. Hopefully that progresses. He almost had 300 yards, but
bro, that's a step forward.
Yeah, considering the last couple of weeks against Hamilton and that one, he didn't play so well. And
he's like literally one step forward, 2 steps back.
Yeah.
So, oh my goodness, we'll see what happens this game. Put your comments below on team grades, and now we're going to go into mid-season awards for the MOP, Canadian defense and coach. Actually, let's start with the coach. Leave MOP for last. Who do you got for your mid-season coach of the year?
I'm giving it to Ryan Dinwiddie so far. Has Toronto rolling after that Grey Cup win last year, and they're 8-1, no 7-1 now. So good start for them. The offense seems to be humming. The defense not as good, but so far he's doing a great job with that offense.
I'm going to go for Rick Campbell in BC. They are humming without Rourke, who had a crazy touchdown with Jacksonville
Yes.
against Dallas. But, their defense is crazy, and they finally got the hump off their back where they convincingly beat Winnipeg in Winnipeg, their number one rival, to get to the Grey Cup. So I'm going to give it to Rick Campbell. And he kind of got Vernon Adams playing on a consistent level where he's not making too many mistakes other than that Toronto game.
Yeah, and you can almost throw Jason Moss kind of in the mix, not to win it, but he's
For sure.
doing a way better job than any of us expected. So
With no O-line.
yeah, exactly. So good for him.
See Saskatchewan.
And Danny Machocha, actually. He's feeling a little bit of vindication probably going on so far this year.
Now, is that the first thing we've ever said anything good about that guy on this show?
Pretty much.
Bless. Who do you got for Defensive Player of the Year?
This is tough for me. I couldn't decide. Really. I'm going to give it to Matthew Betts right now, who's sitting at 10 sacks. He's been a little bit quiet in the last couple of games, but he was a dominant force to start this season. But right now, it's close between him and Willie Jefferson, but I'll give it to Betts right now.
Yeah, don't take my fucking steam. Oh, don't take my steam, bro. I'll take Willie Jefferson with 8 sacks and 9 knockdowns. Look at this. I picked it. We didn't compare notes, and you're taking my steam. Most disruptive defensive player in the league right now. I apologize for swearing. That's Willie Jefferson. Who do you got for Canadian? I'm going to go first with Canadian. I'm going to go with Matthew Betts, leading league in sacks with 10. He is probably the best defensive player other than Willie Jefferson. We saw that firsthand when he played the matchup. It could have been either way. It could have been Matthew Betts or Brady Oliveira. Just saying.
Oh, why'd you steal my thunder, man?
There you go. I got you back. Hey, folks, we didn't compare notes, so I'm just saying. You're up.
Yeah, I'm giving mine right now to Brady Oliveira, leading the league in rushing, 703 yards so far. I know he's played more games than AJ Ouellette, but he's still up by over 150. So 5.6 average, 78 yard per game. So 3 TDs. Great season so far and great start so far.
I'm so petty white right now. I'm so petty white. I'll let you go first for MOP.
Well, I'm sure we're probably going to both kind of be at the same kind of 2 guys on this one.
Well, that's why I say you go first.
Right now, I'm giving it to Zach Collaros, but it is a close race. He does lead the league in passing yards. But for me, the biggest one that kind of separates him a little bit, I guess, he's got the 16 touchdowns, but Chad Kelly's close behind with 13. But also, I guess Kelly's got the rushing ones. But those one-handed rushes to me always don't really. They're so simple in the CFL. You should be getting them, kind of thing. But right now, it's Zach Collaros for me.
I agree. Collaros, he's leading in all major passing categories other than percentage, and he's third. Well, he really should be second. Like Mason Fine is second in that. Come on, give me a break. Dude is getting better with age, like a fine wine. He's having a great year. Even if he does miss the next game, I think he still might be on pace for 5,000 or a little, maybe 4,800 yards. That's crazy.
Yeah, he's at 23, just under 23 after 9 games. So it'll be tough.
It's halfway point. Oh, that would be very tough now, eh?
Well, because he didn't get much in his last game that he played, right? So
I hope he's okay.
Yeah, they're listing in his neck, so at least it's not a concussion, or so it seems anyway. So I do hope he was okay as well. We want him back on that field doing what he does.
The CFL wants him back. But hey, Drew Brown was fun to watch.
He was. He was fun to watch last year when he came in that game against Calgary to set up the winning field goal and stuff too. Like he showed he can do it, right? So
yeah,
that's why I'm said I was kind of surprised unless they did. Some of these teams who had injuries at QB didn't maybe contact the Bombers, especially when Prukop came back, right?
Yeah.
Contact, see what you can give up for Drew Brown. Man, maybe a team will. What did off season anyways? What did what's his name get? Bo Levi from Hamilton, right?
Money wise?
No, like in trade compensation. Did they end up giving up a first, Hamilton? So
not much.
So at least maybe the Bombers can snag something out of Drew Brown and not lose him completely for nothing.
Man, after watching him play, that's so hard to say.
He's still so young though, right? That's the thing.
I know. Talking about QBs, well, he talked about what do you do, GM, And obviously, no one wants to put this on the table because he's a Bomber great, but there's always the option of moving the quarterback.
Yeah.
I'm not going to start this conversation with controversy. Fans want to move Caleros. We're just talking about options going to next year. And if you see what Drew Brown can do, and it's just an option, do I want them to do it? No. Just saying.
Yeah, and it's a good problem to have, really, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. But the thing is, what is a trade market in the CFL, right? If you know you got to trade someone or you don't have to, well, that's interesting.
For a
Maybe not.
starting QB in this league with so many teams with bad QBs, like you can probably make a killing off that trade.
For sure. For sure. Any which way, we won't talk about that. It's just fun. It's just fun. Let's talk about an actual trade that happened. Pipkin, good deal for Saskatchewan.
It's a meh deal. I mean, Pipkin's proven that he can't. He has proven already at this point that he can't play regularly in the CFL. He's not a starter. He's basically your third down guy, and maybe that's what they brought him in for. But you know, what do they got? What's his name? Shea Patterson as well, right?
Yeah.
And then Jake Dolgala, right? So he didn't do well, but
No.
yeah, this doesn't move the meter at all for me for Saskatchewan and their chances.
No, I agree. It's a meh. Like
Yeah.
if Hamilton, who doesn't have the best quarterback situation right now, is willing to part ways with him.
Yeah, exactly. Never even thought of that, but yeah, that's so true.
Come on now. I know. Well,
Or Saskatchewan.
I know. Labor Day is coming up.
Uh,
Friends, fans, put your mid-season award winners in the comments section below. Let's get some Winnipeg Jets trade talk here. We're going to go, this is kind of like rather than hot topics, we're going to get quick into this one. We have this great article from the hockey writers about 10 things or 10 little predictions or whatever it was for the Winnipeg Jets. So let's start with number one. We're going to either agree or disagree with these takes and give you a quick explanation why. Number one was Nikolai Ehlers will finish in the top 25 in scoring this year. Agree or disagree?
Agree. He should be on the top line. He should be getting top power play minutes. And people have been waiting for for him to break out. Injuries the last couple seasons. It's time. He's got to prove that he can do it, and I expect him to be.
I disagree. I think the Jets will be playing a much more balanced game. I think that they'll play a much more defensive game, and I think they'll use him up and down the lineup depending on who they play. I can still see them getting a good year with 70 points, but I just think the way that they might play with the depth might just prevent those bigger numbers from happening. Number two, Scheifele and Hellebuck will both sign long-term with the Jets. Agree or disagree? I disagree. I don't think the Jets will do enough damage for Scheifele to want to stay. And I can actually see them paying Hellebuck the big bucks and building that depth in front, building the team in front of him with depth, unless Scheifele's defense improves, which I wouldn't put my money on.
I can see Scheifele signing long term, just because the Jets do need a number one center. I know they need a number one goalie as well, but losing a center in this league is pretty tough. And to me, I think they would end up losing Helly. Apparently, Ken Weeb mentioned that the Jets did offer a 2 to 3 year contract for Hellebuck, but apparently it's been turned down or not going to happen. So Scheifele stays, Hellebuck probably doesn't.
Number three, Velarde, Iafalo, and Kupari will outproduce Blake Wheeler and Dubois from 2022, 2023. Agree or disagree?
I agree on that only because Wheeler's point totals, I think, will take a big drop. He's probably not on the power play, and he's probably going to be more third line minutes than anything else. So Pierre-Luc Dubois would have to score a lot to make up the difference from three guys.
That's not the question. The question is, will those three outproduce the points missing from Blake Wheeler and Dubois from 22 to 23?
Yeah, I misunderstood that. Wow. I'm gonna say no then at this point. I don't know. I'm gonna go with no. I misread that whole question.
That's no problem. I say yes. The article explains it very well.
Yeah.
But I just think that they were short maybe 20 assists. And I think the way that they use the team, that the three of them will be able to bump that up with getting more playtime with Winnipeg and playing bigger roles. Number four, Cole Perfetti will lead the team in assists. I think, yes, I can see this happening. I'd like to see him at center rather than projected at wing, but I think it's a strong possibility.
I agree on that one as well, especially like the article says, if he gets the power play minutes, the top line power play minutes, and if he plays center, actually, it says that in the article as well. So gives him more opportunities. So I agree.
I'd love to see him at center.
Hopefully, he can just stay healthy, man.
That too. That little dude. Number 5, the Jets' average per game attendance will be under 13,500.
I disagree.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if the Jets are terrible, yeah, later in the season, it can definitely get under that number. It'll all depend on how well the Jets do. But early in the season, I think they'll be above that number.
I agree. I think attendance will suffer, especially late in the season, because I don't see them being a playoff team. Despite it to being out and about and, getting better with crowds and COVID, post COVID. And I just don't think the combination is there. And I think True North will get bitten in the ass because they haven't been really, I agree with that. They haven't been, they've been neglecting their fans, but I think they've been taking them for granted.
They
So
did.
I think they'll take another drop in attendance.
They definitely did take them for granted, and we were one of them for a while too, right? But it's like you'd see all these other places giving away jerseys, just doing all this kind of stuff for season ticket holders, and then they would send us basically nothing. They had a points reward system that they made it harder and harder to get stuff from. So yeah, hopefully they've learned their lesson.
6, the Jets will have the best penalty kill in the league. I disagree. I think they'll be good. And yes, they'll possibly be top 10 again, but I don't think they'll be the best in the league. It'll be hard pressed to be number 1. I'm just playing the numbers game here.
I disagree on that one as well. They ended up 7th last year. They're still a team that takes too many penalties sometimes and bad ones. So yeah, maybe when Wheeler's gone, he won't be taking those bad penalties, but I'm sure someone else will fill in.
Oh, goodness. 7, Dylan Sandberg will replace Neil Pionk on the second pairing. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree, man. The guy's just been getting better and better every year. In the article, it already said he was better defensively last year than Neil Pionk, whereas Pionk better offensively. So yeah, he'll probably still get the power play time, but I could see Sandberg replacing him.
I agree. I think he compliment Brendan Dillon very much. I really love Brendan Dillon. I really like watching that guy play, and I love him being one of the leaders in the locker room. 8, Josh Morrissey will regress from last season. I'm going to play on the fence on this one. I disagree in the sense of if you're just talking about points production, yes, I think it will. Yes, but as a defenseman, I think he'll be better. He'll be more confident, and I think he'll open up the ice for others to make plays. So I think he won't regress as a defenseman, but maybe points wise.
I agree on that. Exactly that. Points wise, yeah, probably not going to hit the same totals. Especially if the Jets commit, like you said, to a more defensive kind of gameplay. But yeah, defensively, I mean, he was still good, pretty good defensively with all the points and everything like that. So I still see him playing to that same form.
Patrick Laine will score 40 goals again this season. Do you agree or disagree?
Did he just get traded back to the Jets here? I thought this was a Jets article.
Hey, dude said hey, it's close enough because Winnipeg still loves that dude.
I miss that guy. I do miss that guy.
I know you do.
Yeah, I agree. He's going to go at over 40 this year as long as he stays healthy, obviously. And second year playing with Gaudreau, and I guess he's got a NHL coach in Babcock.
Oh, yeah. I don't think that's going to benefit that at all either. Disagree. He's done it once, and he hasn't hit that 60-game plateau in any season that he's been with Columbus. Yeah, I don't agree with the sentiment that Babcock bodes well for Laine. If Tortorella didn't bode well for a guy like PLD, I don't think Babcock will bode well for a guy. And like Maurice didn't bode well for Laine, and they're kind of from the same school, so I don't think so. 10, the Jets will finish with a better regular season record than last season. Do you agree or disagree?
Disagree. It all depends, I guess, what happens with Scheifele and Helly and how they'll even perform while playing, because they're both got their minds somewhere else. Like Helly's ready to go. He's probably got his bags packed to go somewhere else. But at the same time, he's got to play well to get more offers. And if the Jets are doing well, I don't know how that trade happens. So, but I think they'll be worse than last year.
I disagree. Yeah, I disagree with them. The sentiment that the record will be better. I don't think so. I don't, like I mentioned earlier, I don't think they're going to be a playoff team. So yeah, disagree. Jets fans, put your sentiments below. Put your comments below, and sentiments and feelings. Bomber fans, if you love the Jets too, put that in there as well.
2 months. 2 months. So the season starts for the Jets.
That's exciting.
Training camps, I guess, in about a month, I guess, right?
Or and the prospects game in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Tournament, whatever it is, round robin. I don't know what
it'll be good to have them back so we can complain about something.
We're always complaining. Bombers is undefeated, we'd still be complaining. Benny, do you have any brickheads?
Yeah, I'm going to give Chris Jones a brickhead. Why did you take so long to go to Ford? At least he had a different dimension to this offense. And then let him grow. I mean, how many games did he miss not growing because he kept him on the bench? So
Absolutely.
Chris Jones, brickhead.
And why didn't he go for that field goal?
Oh my God, yes. Totally forgot. It's 3rd and 2, man. You need 9 points. You need a field goal no matter what. Why didn't you kick it? Totally agree. I totally forgot all about that.
Coaching is a problem.
Doesn't make sense.
Do you have a shout out?
Yeah, I'm going to shout out Drew Brown, man, for playing that game, for coming in for an injured Claros, settling the team down and started throwing darts all over the field. One of the big plays to me we didn't talk about was his completion on 2nd and 20, I believe. Late in the game, they had the first down, then they got multiple penalties, and it was 1st and 30. And he ended up getting the first down, and just the throw to scramble out, and I think it was to Bailey, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So just to find that, and that's a big play in the game, because otherwise you're punting the ball back to the Elks and giving them time.
And to put it in a window where Bailey can get it, because I think Bailey was coming back to him, because on so many of those plays, he was able to extend the play, and the receivers were able to come back to him and respond to where he was.
Yeah.
Like that was amazing. It was so fun to watch. So yeah, definitely I agree with that. Shout out also to the Winnipeg Rifles to get their first win in their first game of the season in Edmonton, going in there and beating them 20-16.
Right on.
Winnipeg Rifles, keep it going. Benny, you have anything to say to our friends?
You know what? Just thanks a lot for listening. Don't forget to leave us a comment, and don't forget to subscribe and follow, and have a good week.
And in the words of Ed Whalen, in the meantime, in between time, that's it. Another edition of Ray and Benny Talk Sports. Cut. You watching that Dark Side to the Wrestling yet?
Yeah, the Jannetty one?
Oh, bro.
Yeah, I just finished that.
What's up with that dude? You think he's a murderer or what?
That one girl said she believes him, but she says she can tell if he's lying or not, and she doesn't think he's lying in this situation. So I'm starting to think that he did.
Who says that for a wrestling angle? I murdered someone. What?
I didn't get that at all.
And you're not even in a federation, or you're not in with a company. It's just a random wrestling angle that you're playing, not being like what?
He's playing it in his head, because that's all there is at this point, man. Between that ankle and his mind, oh my God, how's he still alive? How's he still alive?
Well, that's one of those things, man. It's either they die early or they're pickled and preserved so well because they survived so much that they'll never die.
Yeah. Well, he did get thrown through a paint glass window, so and he survived
twice in real life and on TV.
True too.
Hey, friends and neighbors, don't forget to check us out online on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Ray Benny Sports. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. Leave a like, leave a comment, tell us what you think.